This segment was supposed to be where I told you that my second trip to the NC car track in North Carolina was intended to let me test my shiny new Strut tower brace on my track car and compare how the car felt before and after. But my day at the track actually ended up being much more impactful than that, so more about the Strut tower brace later. This trip to NC car wasn't the timed lapse experience I had my first go-round, but instead several sessions of hot laps, all with an experienced instructor in the seat beside me. All the while his instruction coming into my helmet via a two-way radio. No, he's not enrolled in the witness protection program, but since I didn't know how I'd use the footage from the day when I shot it, I didn't ask my instructor if he wanted to appear on camera, hence I want to be respectful. My instructor, let's call him Jason, has been racing and driving competitively for about 10 years. During one of the sessions of this day, he took me around the track in his very well set up NB-era MX-5 Miata, and let's put it this way, I have a long way to go to reach his skill level. So what did I learn from Jason? Well, after a few sessions in the morning during which I was very tentative, Jason had me pushing more speed around the track. Not just learning the line, but understanding how to remove wheel angle, get the car straightened out more quickly so I could get on the power, and he opened up my eyes about hand speed. With my limited experience, I had mistaken the smooth driving that were taught by performance drivers to mean my hands shouldn't move quickly on the wheel. Jason had me adding more lock with more precision, and then getting back to straight with the same speed and efficiency. The result was the ability for me to carry more speed around the track, a trick known to all racers and demonstrated very well by Jason when he took me around in his Miata. But the biggest thrill of the day for me by far was something else entirely. Having seen and read about good drivers being able to throttle steer, I've always been intrigued to know what this mystical skill felt like. While at NC Car, a well-known area of the track referred to as the Peanut, provided just the opportunity I needed. On my first trip to this track, the area known as Big Loop threw me for a loop. I wasn't ever able to stay on what I felt was the right line for this section, and I wasn't skilled enough to treat it like the double apex corner it really is. With its long radius, and the fact that this section is two long sweeping curves combined together to form a vaguely peanut-shaped series of curves, this section of track is a challenge. Early in the day, I'm sure Jason was wondering who let me on this track as I was fumbling my way around this section. By our second session, he had me cutting in and out of the apexes, defining the two distinct areas where one can let their car drift in and out of the beginning and end of the turns. In the afternoon, I was given a different direction.
Alright, this one, try to keep your hand position pretty stable and just use the throttle to steer. So if you need to get tighter.
I followed the coaching, and after a few tries, I got to feel for the first time what it felt like to let the rear of the car slide out under acceleration into a turn, letting the rear tires turn on the razor's edge of their adhesion to the tarmac, and then nose into a turn by inducing lift-off oversteer. I was grinning under my helmet, I'm sure. I was throttle steering. The Peanut quickly went from my part of the track that I dreaded to one of my favorite sections. I won't be a drift champion anytime soon, but this was a critical step in my car control evolution, and I'm really thankful to Jason for his expert guidance during this great day at the track. So, back to my strut tower brace. Why put one on my car? Well, when you think about it, a car in its vaguely rectangular shape is inherently flexible. The sides of the car being shorter than the car is wide, and the way the car is constructed make the car inherently want to have some flex to it. So the body wants to move, and the torsional rigidity is tested when we're turning the car, particularly at high speeds. So, what can we do about that? Well, we need to reinforce the car. See, with a normal hardtop car, the natural tendency for the car to flex is helped a little bit by the fact that the car has a roof and a hood and a trunk and all the unibody structure that helps the car twist less than it otherwise would. But with a convertible, even a hardtop convertible, what happens when we remove the top? Well, now we've got that same rectangular structure, and the tendency to flex is even more exacerbated, particularly when we're turning at high speeds, we're putting the car through a lot of geometry, we are accelerating and braking very intensely on the track. So that's where a brace comes in. And that brace, sitting on top of the two strut tower braces, helps us keep the two sides of the car pinned together where otherwise they might be disconnected due to the fact that the car is a convertible, even in the case of my car, a hardtop convertible. So Our hope is that as we brace the two strut towers, we've created a connection, a physical connection that is bolted left to right across the top of the car in a perfect place, really, because it's going across the top of the engine bay where the weight of the engine sits between those two strut towers and helping the car achieve its balance, maintain its rigidity, and hopefully be more firm in the corners. As the name suggests, the strut tower brace, or bar, is a length of steel, or in some cases carbon fiber, with rings on the end and holes which will fit over the existing connections for the struts. Installing the brace includes the removal of 6 nuts in the case of my car, positioning the brace over the strut towers, and securing it in place. This brace fit my engine bay perfectly, and the part was installed in less than 10 minutes. Due to the exacting engineering of those clever Germans who designed my car, the bolts coming up from the strut housing have very little extra thread. So I marked the position of the nuts once they were tight on the brace. I want to be able to check periodically for slippage. When I install coilovers or new struts on this car in the future, I'll install slightly longer bolts so I can get plenty of torque on the brace. The last step in the installation was to check for clearance all around, just making sure I didn't have any binding or rubbing between the engine cover, coolant lines, or metallic parts of the engine. So I had another great day at the track, and I'm looking forward to integrating my new skill of throttle steering into my next track day. What do I still need to learn? Well, a couple things. First, I'm being way too tentative on the track. My instructor on this day was really pushing me to go faster every session, and I'm finding the car is capable of a lot more than I'm putting it through. So it's really my fear that's holding me back, my fear of going too fast, my fear of losing control, probably a healthy fear, but the car is capable of going faster, carrying more speed into and out of corners, and as my courage grows, so will my ability to push this car to its limits. Secondly, I've got to become a better manual driver, and while I'm a decent driver of a manual transmission, driving on the track is a completely different animal, and my skill set around heel-toe driving has to get better, as well as throttle blipping, which is the practice of using both feet on all 3 pedals to blip the throttle on the downshifts, keep the revs where you want them coming into and out of turns, and rev match where you want to. That's a skill set that I don't have from street driving. The best track drivers use it, and I've got a long way to go to learn that skill set, so that'll be next. So I'm looking forward to my next track day, looking forward to seeing how the car will continue to evolve and my skill set will continue to evolve. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.